Hi, everybody. I'm Scott,
And I'm Luke.
And I'm Jonathan.
and this is the No Way to Hollywood podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for being here and watching.
Yeah, thanks.
Not sure why I say the same thing at the beginning of every episode, but apparently it works, right?
Yeah, and thank you, Ari, for interacting with our videos. We really appreciate your comments and your thoughtfulness in interacting with things that we are producing and doing. So thank you. We appreciate you and your input.
And if you are someone else watching this podcast right now, just remember, you too can get your name mentioned on the podcast by leaving a comment below.
And you would be so famous because there'd be 12 other people who watch these.
Even if all 12 people, that's it.
That's it.
And they all commented. There's still a lot of names to mention, guys.
That's true. So
Be the first 3 to
act now!
So tonight we are going to play a little game where we follow the money. This is related to COVID and some of the episodes that we've done in the past about what is going to change in the film industry. But guys, where is the money in the film industry right now?
Banks.
Wait, what's this COVID thing?
Banks. Okay. Where is the money?
Show me the money.
Yeah. So what we're trying to ask here is where's the film industry making money?
Or are we asking where are they spending money?
Or both?
Well, they're not going to spend money if they don't make money.
Well, I don't know, because they spent a ton of money making several movies that have bombed horribly.
You've seen there's movies they make sometimes that are real bad.
They're real bad.
Real bad.
Like Box Office Mojo is like a website. You can go there. I'll provide a link below, but it's boxofficemojo.com.
Thanks for that, Luke. I didn't know about boxofficemojo.com. What will I ever do to find www.boxofficemojo.com? How will I find it?
I don't know.
Wow. Why don't we have the money? That's another question. I wonder if we've...
Because
We're
we
sitting here
haven't
talking
made
about
any money.
how to get to boxoffice.com.
Still a better plot than Twilight. All right.
The repetition of this joke has been good. I don't know. Like, this is quite okay. So the money for stuff, Hollywood spends money in terrible ways to make terrible content. That happens. Now they're not trying to, but it happens, and for who knows all the reasons why. Right? Like that's a whole discussion that people talk about that are way smarter than me on that subject. But then there's also the fact that, like, Disney is currently pumping out terrible movies, like truly awful films, and making tons of money, right? And then there's the people who are spending tons of money on really, like, just insanely bad films, and, like, nobody goes to see them, but, like, they're actually, like, really bad. So if you haven't watched Sideways' rant about why the music in Cats is bad, you gotta watch it. It's amazing and way better use of your time than listening to us. Link in the description below.
Good gracious. This is like the podcast where everyone tries to get you to leave. I'm so sorry. Please hang with us. If you enjoy. Well, yeah, Sideways is a guy you can go look at his video about cats, but okay, where's the? I'm still trying to figure out what we're really trying to get at here.
Yeah, which direction are we going, or what are we trying to get to here, Scott?
So right now, how is Hollywood making money?
How is Hollywood making money right now? Television. I mean, Disney Plus, for instance, for Disney, HBO Max for Warner Brothers, Paramount Plus is going to be a thing, which used to be called CBS All Access. Now they're rebranding it as Paramount Plus, and I don't know if that's going to...
Because Disney Plus.
Yeah. There's the Peacock one for NBC.
Yeah, although they cancel everything that they make because nobody watches anything and they think it's the shows.
Well, there's Quibi. That was the thing for a bit.
Yeah, that went away.
That died. Roku bought all of their shows. We're like, we'll take those shows and maybe use them. So it seems to be largely streaming, in part, obviously, because of the pandemic, and theaters have been have been down, but that was already a thing that they were moving on anyway. The streaming wars, everyone trying to get their own streaming service.
There's also within the video, within the streaming, there's also video on demand, which has actually been pretty successful in several cases, right? So there has been some options there, which is interesting because the pandemic has launched, a kind of a resurgence of video on demand, right? Where it was kind of this like, really small niche thing, and now it's like, well, actually, that was the most profitable movie of the last, 6 months or whatever, right? When they release one that's straight to video on demand. And then there was the Mulan debacle, which like Disney was like, we'll make money as a video on demand, and then they're like, wait, this movie's terrible. Maybe they didn't even realize that, and they're like, we'll just release it on the streaming thing, and you could just pay us a few extra dollars for the pro. And then they're like, you know what, we're just giving it away, and then the reviews were rolling in, and well, we know how that went.
I could actually go watch Mulan right now?
No, because you
I
shouldn't
don't
watch that
know.
movie.
Can
That'd be a
you?
terrible plan.
Could you?
Yeah, could you? I don't
Could
even
you
know.
sit the whole thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't actually know how you watch it because there's no reason to. There are lots of great video essays on why Mulan's terrible from people who know more than I do.
So Disney's making a lot of movie off of a bad movie, Mulan. Did they? I'm assuming they made some.
No,
decent
the
money.
movies that they've been making money off of are all the other live action ones, and I think they made money off of Mulan as well. But like
Lion King is the thing to point to.
Right.
Lion King before pandemic. Lion King comes out, makes a boatload of money.
And what's crazy is that it makes way more than the original animated feature.
Which is ridiculous because it's all the hard work of the animated feature that they're cashing in on.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty crazy how that went down.
And there's lots of video essays on that too.
Anyway, so where's the money? Where is Hollywood making the money?
So, but like The Lion King was pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it made all its money.
Mm-hmm.
But since theaters closed down the first time around,
Who doesn't have Disney Plus right now?
Because you get it for free when you buy a new Apple device, which no wait, no that's
Apple TV
that's Apple
Plus.
TV. Never mind.
Or Apple TV?
Yeah,
or,
which has a plus on it too.
does it have a plus?
I don't know.
Apple TV minus. Apple TV approximate.
Yeah, no, but yeah, Disney Plus. I mean, like, and they they did it well where they priced it really low because they're like, we have a bajillion fans. And so if all of them pay us $1, well, actually, like, what was it, $5?
Like 6, 7.
6, yeah, whatever. Then we're gonna have $6 bajillions dollars, and like that. So they were doing fine, and now guess what? Oh, we're raising the price just a little bit. Don't worry, we'll just slowly,
inch it up.
Yeah, the limit's gonna head to infinity. It's fine.
Disney Plus had the biggest thing they had for going for it was The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big thing, and some of the movies that have been in the vault.
And the vault, the entirety of Disney history, and now all of Star Wars,
Marvel,
Right.
pretty much all of that, except for the Spider-Man films because those are Sony owned as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Disney Plus, The Mandalorian, that's where they've been making money, and they spend a lot of money on The Mandalorian for the actors, for that volume that they use, and everything like that.
But is the money just coming in through the subscriptions to their service?
Well, Disney is a money-making machine. Like, they totally understand George Lucas. Like, George Lucas and they both have the exact same mindset, which is you don't just make something that somebody goes and watches. You make something that people watch, and then you sell them a whole bunch of stuff related to it, which, as we know from Spaceballs, right, it's merchandising, the place where the money for the movie is really made, right? So hopefully we'll all see you again in Spaceballs too. Like Disney...
Search for more money.
Right, and Disney and George before them, like that is their playbook. So Disney is making money off of not just their plus and their streaming and all that stuff, but also by the merchandising that they're doing beyond that, right? Like that is where Disney has always done their thing, and they're doing a really good job with it. Now things like Netflix, right? They're using more investor money, aren't they? And they're like, we're gonna someday become profitable, right? Because we're just gonna keep producing a bunch of stuff. But then that's been a question because can you continue to produce high enough quality stuff that people are willing to continue to pay your ever increasing, bill on top of all the other streaming services that you're going to have, right? Because people already have that. And then there's the question about streaming fatigue, right? Where it's like, well, I don't really want to pay for 5 services, right? So like here we've got that problem, right? So we've got a lot of different factors that are I'm very interested to see how this all plays out over time, right? Because who's going to come out on top? How is this going to all play out? Disney was really late to the streaming game in a timeline thing, but they had all the content. So it's like, okay, cool, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if they were watching the numbers with Netflix and saying how many people are actually watching our stuff, because we'll put up, a couple of movies and, they can have that and whatever. And then eventually they're like, yep, yoink, and it all goes into our system. So I don't know. Did that address the question?
But Netflix is losing money, is what you're telling me, and they're just throwing more investor money at it.
I see. This is where I don't actually follow the money well enough to know, but I have read a few headlines that seem to indicate that Netflix is this, like, we're going to invest our way into solvency. And I don't know. They may be profitable at the moment, but I don't know. Have you heard differently?
No, I mean, I'm curious because it's one of those where it seems like if the streaming service itself isn't what's making money, in the case of Disney, it's the, hey, watch this so we can sell you a bunch of other stuff that you don't really need, and then we'll make our money. Mm-hmm. I mean, movie theaters never made money on ticket sales. Movie theaters made money on
concessions.
Well, and movie theaters did end up making some money off of some ticket sales, depending on their deals with the stuff, which they had to negotiate each time and all that. Like yes, that was a huge game. But yes, concessions are where they make their money by and large, which is why it costs $85 for a small popcorn. But it's only a quarter to upgrade, so
you may as well.
Okay, so did that address the question enough, or what's the next part of that, or thing that we need to kind of go through?
Well, if we know where the money is and we know how the studios are going to be making money, how does that affect what we're going to be seeing moving forward?
Well, I think in one aspect, it's going to be a question of what do the investors in these platforms believe are going to bring people to the platform, right? So HBO was like, hey, we got Game of Thrones, and then Game of Thrones ended, and it's like, why would you ever watch HBO, right? Like, what's on there? And then it's like, Disney is like, we've got The Mandalorian, and it's like, okay, well, I might watch a couple other movies on there, but like, I don't know, like, I'm not like, I gotta keep my Disney Plus, right? And then Netflix is like, we made a show once, like, it was Daredevil, and it was amazing. We'll give you some more Kimmy Schmidt, which, okay, that was fun. But like, like, I don't even know what's out there anymore. And then Hulu is like, Handmaid's Tale is like the most epic, so I think like Tenet was for the movie theaters. I think there's something about like tentpole productions, but mostly like shows, right? They're trying to do it. And like, who's HBO Max? No. The one they're trying to get the Snyder Cut or whatever, because they're like trying to figure out
HBO Max.
Yeah, trying to figure out like how do we get people to sign up for this? Well, we'll make up this whole thing and like we'll go.
Well, they did find out how to make it happen. They started releasing theatrical movies day and date on the streaming service. Here's the thing: if you're talking about like what's the business, like how do you get money right now in Hollywood? It's all about exclusivity. I think that's the primary factor. Theaters, I do believe there's a value in the spectacle and the grandeur of the event sense of the movie. But here's the deal. Like, as much as I think that, or I can enjoy that, like I want to see Dune in the theater because I think it's going to feel much better there. It's going to be the best possible experience than anywhere else for the first time. Same with Top Gun. I think that's spectacle enough that I want to see it in the theater. But the real reason anyone goes to the theater, the real reason anyone goes to Netflix, pays a subscription to Disney Plus, or any of these services, it's all the same answer.
Escapism.
Okay, here's another answer too. It's called exclusivity. Netflix, I think, and that's the thing about Netflix is Netflix's deal right now is since they are the premier one, like they're the first guys, right? And they've been around long enough, they got some money. They are spending a ton of money. They do two things. They pride themselves in how many shows they cancel, and then they pride themselves on how many shows they bring in. And they are constantly bringing new content. It can be stuff that, like, there's some tentpole ones that everyone knows, like Stranger Things became that way. But there's a lot of movies that are just brand new movies that you're only going to see on Netflix. There's brand new TV shows you're only going to see on Netflix. And they're kind of just throwing a lot of content out there. Netflix has been thinking about things in more of their subscriber base isn't like, it's not a quality thing necessarily or a big star thing necessarily. It's sort of these little like odd combinations of factors that they think are enough from their algorithms to figure out what people actually want to watch. And so they keep on making all this sort of new, unique content that you can only get on Netflix, and they just make a ton of it. And they kind of roll the cash around by canceling other shows that they've made for a couple seasons, and if it doesn't do well enough or it's done its purpose, they're done. They don't care about the story finishing. They don't care about the creative side of it on that level. They're done. Time to get the next show to get you interested so you'll watch and keep a Netflix subscription. That's not the case all the time everywhere. Some of their bigger ones like Stranger Things, if they cancel that before that story's over, there's going to be something of a frustration from their customers because enough people are watching that and want to know that they'll probably say, okay, finish that story. But a lot of other shows that are just more niche, which is kind of what Netflix is playing at, which is a lot of varied and somewhat seeming random niches. That's what they're playing to. And so they've got all this new content for those niches, and you just kind of go and catch all. Disney Plus, Mandalorian, Marvel TV shows, Star Wars TV shows, the Disney Vault, things you can't get anywhere else right now.
Yeah, they discovered they couldn't make Disney movies very well, so now they're doing Disney shows.
Well, for some reason, TV shows, I mean, we could talk about that for a whole episode, but for some reason, TV shows is kind of the creative ground right now. And there's a theory on that I just heard, which I thought was interesting, which had to do with money and how much money it takes to make a Marvel movie, a Star Wars movie, a big movie of any kind. And that when you have that much money going in as an executive, you can't sit idly by. You can't actually trust creative people because there's too much money riding on it. In fact, you're not the only one. All of your staff on all the different levels, all the execs on all the different levels, there's too much
countries.
All of them are writing on it like it's too much writing on it. Everyone's got to have a say. And if that's the case, then you don't get a director making his movie. You don't, it's harder and harder to do. They have to navigate 30 people and the varying degrees of authority to even get anywhere close to making a movie.
And we're starting to see that even with Wonder Woman 1984 and wow, what kind of, pressures were all over there. And then same with Star Wars. Yes. Yeah.
So that's a theory. Anyway, my point is when you go to Netflix and you're doing a TV show on Netflix, you get some money, you get creative control because for Netflix's business model, it's not about it's not about $150 million, $250 million right here for this one thing to succeed. And everyone's got to have a say. It's, you're our $5 million check. We've got 25 of those. We don't care. Just get us some return. Get us some subscribers. Make something interesting. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe we'll get a second season. Maybe we don't care. It's whatever. Just try.
And if you make something truly awful that everybody's talking about, then people will be like, I got to watch that because it's so terrible.
On our service, and we don't care. Come see it, right? And it's our terrible thing that we have on our service. And so it's different methods, but it really is who has the exclusive thing. That's why did my family get a hold of HBO Max? Wonder Woman 1984, because it's the pandemic. There's not a lot coming out right now. They were going to release one of these big movies that we all have some vested interest in because we saw the the first Wonder Woman of this series and enjoyed it. So we want to see the next one. And so it's exclusive there. We want to see the stuff they have there. I mean, that's the way it's always been for subscription services, for streaming services. So the theaters had that too. They had 1, 2, 3 months bare minimum of exclusivity before it would go anywhere else. And so it's not just that it's the Marvel film that's really big and awesome. It's that I can't see the next Marvel film anywhere else but the theater for 3 months or something. Unless you have kids.
Yeah.
You're going to go.
You're going to go.
Well,
or you're going to pirate it. Or you're going to pirate it.
But even then, there's a social contract potential, you with your friends.
It's kinda
event. That's why the event thing comes into play.
Piracy is illegal.
And also the computers were getting pretty good at squashing it. That's a thing.
Anyway, my point is, where's the money? It's in what we're really talking about when you say where's the money. I think the question we're actually asking, I think the thing we're actually talking about is what's valuable, what gives something value so that someone would spend money on it. Either to make it because they think they'll make money off of it, which would then mean that someone, various customers, would be willing to pay for it. What presents value right now for filmmaking, films, movies, TV shows, you name it? What in media makes it valuable?
Well, and I think one of the interesting questions to that is how are each of the different services and studios and groups answering that question? because Disney has been answering that question by saying, let's ride the nostalgia wave and remake everything that we've already done as a live action. We can do it for dirt cheap. We don't have to make any creative decisions. We can cut out all the stuff that was good, and people will pay us 6 times more money than there was in the original.
But
right?
what's amazing about that, though, is it's still a $200 million budget because there's so many people who are working and are making creative decisions. It's just that they're bound by the box of the original, and not just bound by it. They're not. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like they're able to really iterate or adapt the material even as much as they are to redo it, but in this form.
And from what I've been seeing, delete all the stuff that gave it heart in the first place.
That's certainly what it feels like.
Sure.
I don't know if that was in anyone's intention, and that's where, again, the Lion King animated. How many people worked on that? How much money did that cost? How much were the creative voices allowed to just try things and figure things? Because no one knew what The Lion King was. So just try stuff and let's see if this is any good. And they ended up making something that lots of kids, including myself, really enjoy. But when you do The Lion King over again, and the budget is probably what? I mean, I wonder with inflation what the budget is difference, right? I wonder if the budget for The Lion King remake is like 2 to 3 times more, if not even more than that, of what the original animated film cost, including like adjusting for inflation. If that's the case, then again, the theory of you've got all these executives and business people who have to make sure they have a return on investment, and you don't, and you already have a property that what they're saying is get us money back for our money. We want a return on investment. It's a business decision. It's not a creative decision.
Right, and I'm very interested to see, like, I wonder if we'll ever get to see in the future what it was like now. You can look back a little bit. There's a great documentary on YouTube called The Sweatbox, and we'll see how long it stays up for Disney, talking about one of the animated features that they made and the process and the just heartache and just, oh my goodness, the amount of work that went into that. And I know there's a lot of work that goes into things like Lion King, of like, we just generated this new cool hair fur engine, like tons of work. But like, what are you guys doing on the story side of it? What's happening? What happened to you? Right? And that's interesting. But then there's also like the Netflix solution, which is we're just going to do a lot of content. There's the Disney solution, which is, hey, we can actually do a better job because we can just try this real fast. And, oh, look, that works. So sweet. Now we'll open up the vault. You got all these different
And like, what's
solutions.
Prime doing? Prime's got some exclusives. They got some exclusive movies and TV shows. I don't know them as well.
They're straight up producing stuff in their own.
That's true. It's true.
It's great. There's some good content there.
There's Hulu, which is kind of a catch-all of like these random, like they get licenses to things I didn't know were out there, which they're also aren't majority controlled by Disney. Like, Paramount Plus, which was known as CBS All Access, or still is and will be known differently soon. That's Star Trek Picard. I paid for a month to watch Star Trek Picard, and was gravely disappointed because the story sucked. And I don't think they did a good job at all. And I'm not coming back because that's the only thing. And they wasted my money and my time. And so I don't want to come back for them.
Well, then there's Peacock. And, I was like, I'll check.
Which that's the thing. Like Peacock's like the service for that friend of yours who's like, I don't watch movies or TV shows, but I love The Office. All I need is just The Office. That's what Peacock is for. There's The Office.
I mean, they tried with like Brave New World. And I watched it and was like, yeah, okay. And then they canceled it because, hey, guess what?
Peacock's also doing a lot of like streaming for sports and other things as well too, where they get, that's where the Peacock premium service comes in and you're actually making money. So to me, it's still,
football has been driving HD TVs forever, so that's interesting.
To a certain end though, like I'm looking at this and we're talking about really how everything is going to more of a TV model, and then my question is, okay, at what point are we going to get advertisements? Because right now most of the services advertise themselves and that's about it. But if the model is moving that direction, when are we going to see more advertising? Because that's, for television, that's where the money's at.
Well, for broadcast television, yes, that's absolutely where the money is at, so to speak. Hulu still has that. YouTube has ads depending on the video. To monetize it, and the people running YouTube, like the channel creators, the video creators, they get slices of that pie, supposedly, but that whole thing is kind of not real either. Like there's a lot of feelings, I think, towards ads nowadays. And ads is a discussion now because there's been so much content and so many different ways to ingest content without ads in that way that now people expect that if they pay a certain level of money, they don't want ads. They'll pay to get rid of the ads. Spotify Premium, Crunchyroll Premium, other services where you can actually access the vast majority of the content with ads, or you can pay and not have the ads. And lots of people are like, happily take my money. Even YouTube Red or whatever, right? Pay and you don't have to have ads. Great. I happily will do so. I just don't want you to interrupt me anymore. So advertisements, the way advertisements put it back in, I think is going back to that model of like, you know, Chuck kind of did a joke on it. Just the Subway, right? Like Subway in the episodes of, oh, I can't wait to get my Subway, or that's the way you're going to get advertising, and that's already the case.
That are all Toyotas.
Yeah, I mean, yes, except that you might have to bring attention to it more somehow in the story, and that's kind of creatively bankrupt. And so it doesn't seem to be about that. Again, right now at least, and it's an interesting question, Scott. I don't know if they'll have to get there for making their money back, but it seems right now that the biggest thing is if we can be the show or the quality content that gets more subscribers for at least a couple months, and then half of them forget to unsubscribe, right? Like, we're fine.
Okay.
Right? And that's where, truly, as I think about it, it's $15 to go to HBO Max for a month to watch Wonder Woman 1984. That's about the same cost as a ticket in an average. Well, actually, as an average, it's more than the average.
And you can have more than one person watch it.
Right, that's true. At the same time, will they keep it for another month for 2 tickets, even though you have another movie coming out next month?
Well, and that the subscription thing of we expect people not to unsubscribe, like that is a real thing out there, and I think it's actually kind of morally sick, you know, to be like we're gonna plan on people not unsubscribing from us, and that's how we're gonna make a lot of money.
Well, the positive way to spin that, not saying that this is necessarily always in every discussion, but the positive way to spin that is people are staying on because they want to watch the rest of the content, and that's the thing is you're getting money off of the rest of the content that you already spent money on years ago, right?
But that's only if that's actually what's happening, which is why, and this problem actually has existed for a long time with things like cable services, right? Where it's like, oh, I didn't even realize that I still had cable, and I've been paying $200 a month, which I'm like, I don't know how you do that because I don't got $200 laying around. But like,
right,
this is where, if you want to be an ethical company, then it's like, hey, you haven't logged in 3 weeks. Would you like us to pause your subscription for you? You know, like, let's actually be proactive in it. And then if they log back in, then just, start charging it or whatever. Like, there are ways to do it. Now, I get it. I totally get it. Like, it makes sense why people would be like, no, I'll take the cash. I will take that cash to the bank. But stop it. It's not good.
Well, I think there's a fine line between a company being unethical because they are trying to get people to be awful, and a company benefiting because people are being irresponsible, which is also not great. I mean, cigarette companies, okay? Like, I'm not, like, but the thing is, if you're a cigarette company and you understand that this is harmful and you keep on sending ads that basically suggest not only is it cool, but you're just trying to push that under the rug and you're actively harming people, to me, it's pretty clearly unethical, I think, okay? You're talking about a subscription service for movies. You can't tell the difference. You don't actually know which person is going to be this versus this. And you're not responsible for how someone spends their time or their money. They have the option. Now, are they devious about it? Sure. Who makes it easy to unsubscribe? Who puts a big giant unsubscribe button on the front page of their website and the front page of their, TV app? Nobody. Nobody does that. They make it hard. You got to actually choose. You got to really, truly choose to unsubscribe. There's obviously a level of deviousness to it. Unethical, evil, that's a whole other discussion. But, yeah, I mean, I have HBO Max still, or we have HBO Max still because we're enjoying it enough. We're using it enough. There's other movies we want to see. There are TV shows we want to watch.
If you're using stuff, awesome.
Exactly.
Rock on.
Exactly.
More power to you. Well, thank you for joining us for this discussion as we looked for the money in movies. We hope that you enjoyed this enough to join us again next time.
And there's a lot more discussion here, obviously. Like, we've brought up like 6 more ideas of things, which is great because having content to talk about is awesome. And then we can hopefully continue and engage you and keep you interested so that you keep coming back and watching our stuff, which is cool.
I was just looking around for our unsubscribe button. And I'm not sure
It's
I
on
know where it
YouTube.
is.
You just unfollow.
Yeah, or like that's assuming that you're following us in the first place. Which if you are,
Yeah.
thank you.
So
Thank
if you want to press the button, follow, so that you can then press the unfollow button.
that'd be awesome.
I mean, we'll take it.
Before we go, gentlemen, do we want to recommend anything to our viewers?
Like a service.
Well,
Oh, interesting.
let's do this. Let's do a episodic series that is exclusive to one service.
So, like our favorite, or just one we want to recommend?
One we want to recommend. They're thinking.
If you, I don't know how you would not be aware of Netflix at this point, or like haven't subscribed to Netflix for some period of time by this point. They're pretty seemingly ubiquitous, but they've got a myriad of shows that are pretty interesting. I think you can get everything from Daredevil, which is one of my favorite things to come out of Marvel in a long time, and it's it's 3 seasons. The second season isn't as good. It's got some good stuff. It's not as good, but seasons 1 and 2 are really, or seasons 1 and 3 are really good. I really like that. But you also get access to things like Haunting of Hill House or other shows that are Stranger Things. If you're gonna go kind of that's one of those places I would go for TV shows.
But you're specifically recommending Daredevil.
I mean, I do like Daredevil. I was wondering if I should let Luke recommend Daredevil though, because he loves Daredevil and he keeps bringing it up, and it's really good.
I mean, we've already recommended Daredevil like I don't know how many times on the show.
And I've already recommended Haunting of Hill House. I'm trying to think of a show that I haven't already said to go watch.
I mean, we did a whole episode on Mandalorian, and you chose not to go that way.
Because it's too obvious. You already know if you want to watch Mandalorian or not by now. You've done it already.
Luke, do you have something you'd like to recommend?
I haven't watched anything in a long time. I've got kids. I've got a job. I've got there's a lot there. I did blast through Queen's Gambit because I was interested in how they portrayed chess. I literally skipped the entire story because I didn't flipping care at all. But their chess
Classic
games
Luke.
were pretty fun. But so and there've been some good essays about that show and the stuff that's going on with it. But like I don't know, like yeah, I don't Daredevil, go watch it. But really, like I watch YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube.
I mean, I can tell you what I've been watching right now. Right now, I've picked up again The West Wing. That's what I'm watching right now on HBO Max. I think it was on Netflix. I don't know if it's gone from Netflix now because of deals and streaming wars. But I'm watching The West Wing, and just in case you're curious, I'm typically not left leaning, and The West Wing is typically that entire group of characters is left leaning. I don't tend to lean that way, and I still enjoy watching the show. I still have an enjoyment of watching a somewhat idealistic version of politics play out on a day-to-day basis. That's an old show. It's not brand new content.
Aaron Sorkin.
But I enjoy it. I enjoy watching that.
All right. I've actually got a couple of recommendations.
Oh, good. Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome, Luke. Anytime.
Let him finish. You may not thank him after he gives his recommendations.
Oh, that's okay. I can take it back.
Well, I know you guys aren't going to like one of them, but that's okay.
All right, what is it?
The recommendation that I think you would actually enjoy, and this is more for the science fiction, mystery, drama people out there. The Expanse, which I believe just released a new season on Prime, is kind of enjoyable. I have followed the story, and the last I'm curious to see what they do with this new season, which I haven't even started, if it's even out yet. I'm pretty sure it is. Maybe not. But that's an enjoyable science fiction drama thriller. First season was really more the thriller, like what's going on here, whodunit kind of stuff, which was probably the best. After that, it's a little bit more of the how do I get around this? I think it's one of the few shows that actually does politics really well. So if you enjoy political stuff,
I'm
Wait
just
for Dune.
I'm just
yes, that too.
I'm
listening to Dune right now on audiobook, but
I just want to say I'm bitter about The Expanse. I haven't seen it. I'm only bitter because I wrote a feature film in film school that the brilliant title I came up with was The Expanse, And then a couple years later, this joke show showed up and was all like, "Well, we're cool and we're grimy and we're thrilling." And I haven't watched it yet. It's probably good, but I'm just upset that they took my title. I like the title.
And now my recommendation for the one that I know they won't like, and this is mostly for the sports fans out there, but ESPN Plus, which is connected to Disney Plus, is doing a second season of Peyton's Places. So if you are a football fan, it is one of the more enjoyable. I could laugh just about through every episode and enjoy myself and learn a little bit about the history of the game itself. So that is a recommendation for the sports
I'd watch
fans,
that.
which these guys are not.
I mean, I'd watch that. Sometimes documentaries are easier for me to watch than the actual sport because it gives me a narrative in a concise form that actually gets places. Like, what's that Michael Jordan one that just came out?
Oh, yeah.
The Bulls and Michael Jordan, the Last Dance.
The Last Dance, yeah.
I watched that. I greatly enjoyed that. Do I want to watch basketball? No. No way, man. Dribble the ball somewhere else, out of my view. But when it comes to like, here's a documentary that's going to tell you the narrative of the story, show you all the highlights of every single game and why it matters. I'm all into that. I'm into that. But, an actual basketball game is...
I mean, I could watch that if I had time and inclination. Instead, I watch things like The Ultraviolet Catastrophe, which is about the foundation of quantum physics on YouTube.
Show
below.
off. Show off.
Yeah.
I would
seriously.
watch things about sports. I'm just too busy
Ooh.
learning about the foundation of quantum physics.
Well, no, it's just because I find things incredibly interesting, even if I can't follow the math at all.
And on that note, we are going to cut out and let you get back to the rest of your life.
You're awesome.